A depressed person isn't necessarily sick. Instead, they're someone who has seen the world for what it truly is and struggled to cope with its harsh reality. This idea, expressed by Ahmed Khalid Tawfiq, shifts the conversation around depression from a purely medical perspective to something more existential. It suggests that depression isn't just an illness, but a deep, painful awareness. The depressed person sees the world without its filters, the cruelty in relationships, the randomness of existence, and the injustice woven into the fabric of life. This raw clarity puts them in direct conflict with what Albert Camus called the absurd, the unbearable gap between our desire for meaning and the world's refusal to provide it. In this sense, depression isn't simply sadness or a disorder, it's a moment of existential reckoning, much like Sisyphus realizing he's doomed to roll the same boulder up the hill forever. It's not about rejecting life, but about feeling unable to keep playing along with its rules. We see this idea echoed in literature. Ivan Karamazov, from Dostoevsky's The Brothers Karamazov, refuses to accept the world's ugliness, rejecting the moral structures that allow it to continue. Kafka's characters experience the same alienation, not because they're mentally ill, but because they see too clearly the absurdity of human systems and the weight of their demands. For many today, depression is tied to a loss of faith in society itself. We're bombarded with idealized images of happiness and success, but the closer we look, the more we see the cracks. The realities of war, inequality, and shallow human connections stand in stark contrast to the world we're told to believe in. Yet society expects us to keep going as if everything is fine. And for some, that expectation is unbearable. Maybe this struggle isn't a personal failing, but a reflection of something bigger, a collective inability to prepare people for the truth. The depressed person isn't weak. They're a mirror, exposing the fragility of human existence. They refuse to lie to themselves or participate in mass delusion. But that honesty comes at a cost: loneliness and paralysis. This brutal self-awareness gives depression a philosophical weight beyond psychiatry. It makes the depressed person not just a sufferer, but a witness, someone who sees through the illusions that hold society together. While most people find comfort in morality, religion, or tradition, the depressed person dismantles these illusions and is left alone with reality, with nothing to soften the blow. In this way, depression becomes a battle between the soul's longing for beauty and meaning and the world's refusal to provide it. It's the same struggle we see in Teresa from Milan Kundera's The Unbearable Lightness of Being. A woman searching for something pure in a world that seems determined to crush anything delicate or sincere. At the same time, depression reflects a modern crisis, the loss of certainty. Previous generations found refuge in faith or ideology, but today many feel stranded. Nietzsche argued that without absolute meaning, we're forced to confront life's absurdity head-on. In this sense, depression is a kind of rebellion, a refusal to accept a distorted reality, even if that refusal takes the form of withdrawal or despair. And maybe, in a way, the depressed person is braver than those who live in denial, those who numb themselves with distractions and superficial joys. Their pain is real because their perception is sharp. Like the heroes of Greek tragedies, they see the inevitable and feel the weight of it, yet they exist in that truth, even when it crushes them. This makes the depressed person a paradox. On one hand, they see society's hypocrisy with unmatched clarity. On the other, they feel powerless to change it, or even exist comfortably within it. This internal conflict, this alienation, is what Simone de Beauvoir describes when she says that humans are not content with merely being. They always long to be something more. The depressed person understands that more, but feels unable to reach it. Maybe this helplessness is in itself an act of defiance. Like the tragic hero who fights fate, the depressed person resists the absurdity of the world, not through action but through silence and refusal. Their struggle isn't a sign of weakness or failure, but an inevitable response to the contradictions they can't unsee. In this way, they resemble Prince Mishkin from Dostoevsky's The Idiot, a man too pure for the corrupt world around him. Both possess deep insight, but that clarity isolates them, leaving them vulnerable to heartbreak and despair. What sets the depressed person apart isn't just their awareness of the world's darkness, but their extreme sensitivity to it. What most people shrug off as just life feels unbearable to them. This may be why Camus called suicide the most fundamental philosophical question, because once you see life's absurdity without illusion, the weight of it can feel crushing. But despite their struggle, the depressed person continues to exist. Maybe that, in itself, is a form of quiet courage. Ultimately, as Tawfik suggests, the depressed person doesn't suffer from an illness in the traditional sense. Instead, they suffer from a painful kind of honesty. They are, as Sartre put it, the ones who realize that hell is other people. Yet they also understand that escaping this hell means losing part of what makes them human. So rather than seeing depression only as a condition to be pitied or treated, maybe we should also see it as a reflection of something much deeper, the crisis of being human in a world that often makes no sense. The depressed person in their rawest form isn't just struggling with themselves, they're struggling with the very nature of existence.
Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.